Plutus Sports Analytics is a company based on minimizing the uncertainty in sports betting to help you maximize your profit. Newfoundland's first sports analytics team provides daily predictions for all Major League sports so you can win big. Whether you want to hit MLB picks out of the park or get a slam dunk on your NBA betting tickets, Plutus is a company of choice. Head to PlutusSportsAnalytics.com. That is PLUTUS sportsanalytics.com and use promo code JSP20 for 20% off their deadly service. And now, let's get to the show. Welcome back, everybody, to another episode of the Jay Stevens Podcast. This is episode number 169, dedicated to a city and country who on January 25th, 1924, hosted and opened the very first Winter Olympic Games, Chamonix, France. And as always, thank you for listening and downloading another episode of the podcast. On today's episode, we talk a little bit about Tom Brady going back to another Super Bowl. Is it time for the University of Tennessee to start from scratch and rebuild their football program? And then Dwayne Haskins, he has a new home. But first, the Miami Heat. They have a way, an interesting way that they're going to implement when they start allowing the general public to start attending games once again. The association been very strict, going from when COVID-19 first got into the league, got exposed in the country, to right now. They are very, very, very strict as far as what players can and cannot do, even on the court, even seconds after the game ends, even going to who can and cannot enter the arena when a game is being played. But one thing a fan like myself, I'm sure a fan like you would love to do, is to go to a basketball game. Go to a sporting event. Maybe even be something where it's your youngster, a young child, going to watch them play. You want to be around sports. We watch sports on TV, but at some point, you get tired of going home, turning on the TV. Going home, turning on the TV, and watching sports that way day after day after day. Well, the Miami Heat, they are in Florida, and things in Florida, they are a little bit different at times. Well, they got a little tactic from the Middle East, bringing it over here to the States to say, hey, how about COVID sniff dogs? Sounds odd, doesn't it? Remember I said they do things a little bit different down there in Florida? And this may be just another way to confirm that statement. That is correct. COVID dogs will be in the arena to sniff, yes, to sniff the attendees of the game, the general public. And if you do sniff, and if the dog detects that you have COVID, you have to go to another area, get tested. I believe it's a rapid test. It gets back, you get the results in about 45 minutes. And it's a great way for them to see, wow, how about we bring in dogs that are trained to sniff for a virus, and if the dog detects you have it, you got to get tested, and then so on and so forth. Interesting, man. I mean, I've been seeing things around the SEC and the southern parts of the country, Florida, Georgia, Alabama, Mississippi, Texas, those parts of the country where people have been in games, have been attending games almost once sports came back. And, well, once sports were suspended, once sports came back, I'm pretty sure that there were fans there. I'm pretty sure even the World Series had fans in it. And that was back in October, maybe November time, when there were fans there. The NBA says, hey, we're going to take a different approach to this thing. Even when I say different approach, after a game recently, the Nets and the Heat played a basketball game. At the end of the game, Kyrie Irving and Bam Adebayo were going to do a jersey swap. Now, granted, think about it. You're sweating, you're playing defense, you're touching the other opponent the entire time. But when it came for a jersey swap, the NBA just said you cannot hug, dap up, anything jersey swaps with another player on the opposite team at the end of the game. Nope. They have even put security guards, team security guards, to be on the court to police situations just like this. And in this situation, The Heat security guard saw Bam and Kyrie about to take off the jerseys, about to do a jersey swap, get a picture, and then go on. What happened? The security guard from the Miami Heat came over to Bam and got him away and said, no, you can't do that. The league said no. But the Miami Heat going with this sniff dog situation. If this works. Now, I've heard that there's about a 94% accuracy that the dogs can detect COVID on someone. So 94% out of a possible 100, that's not a bad clip. That's not a bad percentage. And so implementing this, yes, it's going to cost money. They got the money. The whole thing about, people don't have money without fans. That was a lie. I don't mean to be wrong, but they got money, y'all. The NBA just spent over $1 billion for the bubble. They got some bread. They're going to be able to get this stuff going. And I'm going to be curious to see if the Heat have success with this, if other teams do this same tactic. The one thing about Miami Heat fans, if you have watched any games, and even going back to when they were in the finals, when they were at the height of one of the best teams over the past decade, between the year 2000 to 2019, 2010 to 2019, you noticed that the Heat fans normally don't show up till the second quarter. So let's say you're running behind, running late, and a dog sniffs you and says, you got the Rona. You got to go get tested, antigen test. Well, you get there in the middle of the first, you're basically going to miss the whole first half waiting to get the results of a rapid test because of your lack of planning. Guys, COVID sniff dogs, never thought I would see it, but it is a thing right now. Let's go ahead and take a trip to Tampa, Florida, because once again, in back-to-back weeks, I'm going to give Tom Brady credit for doing something that I didn't think he would do. At 43 years old, many people, they are not what they were when they were 20, 25, 30. They're not what they were, and they also weren't as successful as they were in their younger years either. Then there's a guy named Tom Brady. He is not the same quarterback that he was early in his career, but for some reason, he is finding a way to have the same type of success that he had in New England. Leaves New England after a very long, successful career there, goes down to Tampa. New coach, new system, new players, new hometown. And Tom Brady, once again, finds himself playing in another Super Bowl. And man, when I think about it, I'm not the biggest fan of the guy, but I got to give credit to where credit is due. Tom Brady continues to surprise us. Tom Brady continues probably to surprise himself with the way that he recovers after games, with the way that he plays during games, with the way that he can mentally prepare himself to play at a high level throughout another deep playoff run. Excuse me, I gotta back up. Let's keep it in context. Tom Brady had a good half, didn't have a good game. We look at Tom Brady in the first half and how he played, and the second half and how he played. Yeah, man, that wasn't hot. Second half, pick here. It didn't make any sense at all. What are you doing? Like, Tom, you're better than this, so we thought. We remember Tom Brady. A lot of people compare Tom Brady with Peyton Manning. Think about Peyton Manning's final year, year in Denver. He only played 10 games in the regular season, and he would not have won the Super Bowl if it was not for the defense, one of the best defenses we have seen over the past 10 years. You had the 15 Broncos, you had the 13 Seahawks. Before that, it would have been the 02 Ravens, and that would have been, or 2000 Ravens, 2001 Ravens, whatever it was, and that was it. Like, you got the Ravens that year, Buccaneers shortly after the Ravens, but that Buccaneers defense was not better than the Ravens statistically. And watch the football, watch the tape. That Ravens defense was one of a kind. Yeah, Peyton Manning in that year, 15, he got him a ring, but he wasn't the one that propelled that team there to get that. Yeah, he played well at times, but that boy really struggled to throw the rock, just like Tom Brady. But even though Tom Brady is struggling, even though Tom Brady is doing things that, well, Tom Brady truthers and Tom Brady stands really are the ones that say, oh, Tom Brady can do no wrong. It's Tom Brady. Have you watched him play? Have you seen him play the football? He can do no wrong. A 5-point win over the Packers? We expected that the entire time. It is Tom Brady. This is what he does. Okay, you can say that. But when I watched the game, the NFC Championship game, it sure looked like the Packers had their chance, had their moment to have a chance to win that game. But despite all of that, the defense of the Buccaneers made some plays. Matt LaFleur made some questionable calls, and he allowed and aided Tom Brady to once again go back to the Super Bowl. And I heard him afterwards, after the game, and him and Rob Gronkowski had that TikTok recreating a video from a couple years ago. I forget when the first video originated. But he's saying himself, man, I am happy to be the first to where the team is located, that stadium is hosting the Super Bowl. Many people thought back in the 2000s when the Indianapolis Colts in Indianapolis hosted Lucas Oil Stadium, that very first Super Bowl in that stadium, many people thought Peyton Manning and those Colts would go to the Super Bowl. Nope, you know who was there? Tom Brady. Nope, you know who was there? Eli. And who won? Eli Manning won that one. So Manning won that Super Bowl, so it still made me happy, the Colts fan in me happy, the guy that loves and enjoyed watching Peyton Manning play the football. But Tom Brady, man, at 43, oh my goodness. My mind is blown. And you all know that emoji, the mind-blown emoji, where it's like, boom. Maybe bad sound effects, but you get the gist of what I'm trying to get across. Tom Brady, he keeps doing things that nobody ever thought could happen. Let's go back to the 80s. Now, I'm learning more how to be a historian and getting more knowledge about the basketball. But let's go back to the 80s, y'all. There was a guy by the name of Kareem Abdul-Jabbar. The Lakers, they had Kareem. They had not Shaq. They had Kareem. They had Magic Johnson. They had James Worthy. They had numerous players. I know they had Pat Riley coaching them for a while. And they were that dude. They were the team to beat in the 80s. Yes, there was the Celtics. There were also the Lakers. But it's very, very hard to go about and say that it was not the Lakers' decade. Celtics have 3 titles, I believe. I know Magic won 5 in 9 years. I forget if his first one came in the decade of the 80s. But Kareem Abdul-Jabbar, one of the best big men of all time, one of the best players of all time, a guy that gets skipped over when we talk about the greatest of all time. Many people could think and say, oh, Kareem, top 5, top 10, okay. But is he number 1? He's never put in the conversation of number 1. It's always lately Michael or LeBron. You might put Magic in there, but there are legit arguments as far as why Magic cannot be number 1, the best player of all time. I do think, and you have your guys, the old heads, that say Oscar Robertson. There was a guy that I used to work with that was an Oscar Robertson guy. Oscar Robertson, there ain't never been anybody in the NBA history to average a triple-double in a season. That's why Oscar Robertson is better than Michael Jordan. Okay, cool, whatever. That's your argument this week. We will go back and forth every single day, over and over and over and over again. And over and over and over again, literally day after day after day. We will go back and forth, friendly banter, but he never got the hint. That one stat alone, saying a statistic is why somebody is the best of all time, that's a weak argument to many people except him. But then you had Michael, and I think Kareem deserves to be in the conversation as well. Well, Kareem Abdul-Jabbar started playing for the Milwaukee Bucks 1969 to 1970. His last season in the association, 1988 to 1989. That season, played at age 41. Played 74 games that year, and he averaged 10 points a game. 10 points a game, 4.5 rebounds, 1 assist per game. And you're thinking, okay, Jay, what are your point? He averaged 22.9 minutes a game, so his production was down, his minutes were down, he wasn't averaging the double-double that he used to average, he wasn't doing the things on the court that he used to. He averaged 26 and 10 during a year in 80 to 81. After that, he started to go down as far as his production, but his body allowed him to keep playing deep and having deep playoff runs. every single year, being a big piece and a big part of the Lakers' run in the 80s. Tom Brady at 43, like I said, Kareem at 41 was doing some things that were unthinkable to most people. Tom Brady at 43, I'm not one to get hung up on ages and say, 40 years old, no, I'm going to wipe him away, not think about him, not give him any credit. I'm not normally that guy, but he's 43. I am 32 years old. Myself at 20 or 25 is not me at 32. I have changed a lot, not just with what I do on a regular basis, my job, the athletic ability that I have has gone up and down throughout my 20s, even early 30s. That thing has gone up and down, up and down, up and down. The podcast that I host, I was not doing in my early 20s. The things I was doing recreationally, the things I'm doing now, the COVID season aside, I was not doing the things now that I was doing in my early 20s. A lot has changed. Tom Brady hasn't just relocated and moved to a different city. Now, granted, he probably has homes in different parts of the country, so it may not be as big of a thing for him as it is for us. But so he's moving. He has kids. He's married. There are different things going on with Tom Brady outside of football that are pulling him every which way. And then when you add in the football, and then when you add in Tom Brady, the quarterback that has been at an elite level for quite a long time, a lot longer than many people thought he would be at, you start to think to yourself, I heard a man say he wants to play till he's 25 years old. I thought it was a laughing matter. I didn't think he could do it, but if he keeps playing like this, oh my goodness, it surely could happen. Tom Brady, man, he confuses me with how he's able to knock down Father Time. He is one that at times makes you wonder, how in the world is he so successful at playing the football? How in the world is he able to come out week after week after week after week after week and play so well that he can win the game, come out victorious, and make people wonder, how is he doing it? Don't ask me. I'm not a Tom Brady stan, not a Tom Brady guy. But one thing I will do, and that I try to do more often, is respect greatness. If you were to tell me that Tom Brady at 43 years old with over 4,600 yards in a single season, with 40 touchdowns and 12 INTs, which is a high for him, the most interceptions he has thrown since 2011, I have to remind you, one thing with Bruce Arians' offenses, quarterbacks throw a lot of interceptions. Peyton Manning's rookie year, Andrew Luck's rookie year, look at Big Ben in the mid-2000s, look at Jameis Winston just last year, and Tom Brady this year. Tom Brady has thrown a lot of interceptions, more for him, but it's just a Bruce Arians thing. Tom Brady has had through 24 touchdowns last year to 40 touchdowns this year, 12 interceptions this year, 8 interceptions last year. So you see the jump in both of those numbers. Last year, threw for 4,057 yards. This year, 4,633 yards. One thing that jumps out the page to me, and I'll wrap up with this. I am a big completion percentage guy. I think for quarterbacks, one thing that gets skipped over is your completion percentage and your accuracy. Last year, Tom, 60.8% completion percentage. This year, 65.7%. Yes, Tom Brady's not a perfect quarterback. Tom Brady is not a guy that is invincible. We say that. But Tom Brady, even at 43 years old, even with the hiccups that he has on the field, continues to do what is needed to help his team go further and further and further in the playoffs. And this year, he does another thing that Peyton Manning did not do. Tom Brady, the team, Buccaneers that reside in Tampa, their stadium, Raymond James Stadium, is the host city and site of this year's Super Bowl. Tom, didn't like you as a kid. I respect you now. You keep doing your thing. I might say more good things about you. Tom Brady, man. Wow. Just wow. Will there be another like him? I don't know. Just got to wait and see. Let's go back in our minds to the year 1998. As sports fans, and many of you know that I'm a big college football guy, so you may have a feeling about where we're going right now. 1998, Michael Jordan wins his sixth and final ring as a Chicago Bull, also his final ring in his career. Last season with the Bulls, they beat the Jazz for a second time in the NBA Finals, 6 rings, and he leaves the Chicago Bulls at the end of that season. Also in the city of Chicago, there was a home run race that had a player on the Chicago Cubs involved in it. Sammy Sosa, Mark McGwire, their rivals, not just teams, but also in the home run race. But also Ken Griffey Jr. was involved early to the mid part of the season, but ultimately the steroid guys, Sammy Sosa and Mark McGwire, propelled that thing and went further than Griffey did in that year. That was in June for Michael Jordan. Baseball season started in April, went through September, October time, and that was it for those two. But at the beginning of the year, the Tennessee Volunteers, the year after Peyton Manning did not win the national championship, that was also a split national champion in the previous year, the Tennessee Volunteers under Phil Fulmer won a national championship in college football. And that year has been what the benchmark and what Tennessee football fans, volunteer football fans, have been striving for and trying to get back to for years and years and years. Phil Fulmer lasted a lot longer after that, but the success that he had in his early tenure with the Volunteers, he didn't really have that same success much after that. He did have a winning season, double-digit winning season in 2001, 2002, 2004, and then also 2007. 2007 being the last year any volunteer football coach had a double-digit win season. They ultimately did hire Lane Kiffin in 2009. He went 7-6. They had Derek Dooley. They had Butch Jones was there for a little bit. Brady Hoke was there for a little bit. Jeremy Pruitt got hired in 2018. And ultimately, he got fired just recently, well, for a lot of reasons. He would have got fired for things that weren't recruiting violations, because the program was not going in the right direction. 5-7 in 2018, 8-5 in 2019, and then this past year, a different season. They went 3-7. Phil Fulmer, the success that he had as a volunteer head coach was amazing. I mean, you couldn't go anywhere without looking at Phil Fulmer and saying, "Oh wow, he is a really, really, really good football coach" at the time, but eventually everybody's run and tenure in a spot does run out. Phil Fulmer did eventually no longer be the head coach at University of Tennessee. He did get promoted to be the athletic director, and he just got, well, not fired. It wasn't mutually parting ways either. He just thinking about all the things that happen when a guy suddenly retires, when a head coach does get fired himself. Oh, were you going to get fired? Were you going to mutually part ways? What was the situation? We'll have to wait and see when more details do come out. But Tennessee has been striving to get back there. And I said the last time they had a double-digit win season was in 2007. After that, I mean, Lane Kiffin, 7-6. Derek Dooley, his first year, 6-7. Butch Jones, his first year, 5-7, 7-6, 9-4. Brady Hoke took over for Butch Jones in 2017. Jones went 4-6. Brady Hoke went 0-2. I mean, there's not a lot of things to be happy about when you think about what is going on with Tennessee football. They don't have many bowl wins either. Phil Fulmer won the Citrus Bowl in 2001, the Cotton Bowl in 2004, the Outback Bowl in 2007. Lane Kiffin lost in the only year he was there, he lost in the Chick-fil-A Bowl in 2009. They won the Tax Slayer Bowl in 14, Outback Bowl in 15, Music City Bowl in 16, then also the Gator Bowl in 19. So more success recently in bowl wins, bowl games, than in regular season success. Hey, postseason, bowl games, they're supposed to reward you for what's done in the regular season. At least they're winning the last game of the year. And the reason why I mentioned early in the show, if I think it's time for Tennessee to start from scratch and to rebuild, is partly because of the man they hired as their new athletic director. Maybe thinking, Jay, athletic director, a new AD, what does the AD have to do as far as the football program. The basketball program's doing better. Do you think the football program needs to be good too? I absolutely do. You're an SEC football power. You're not Kentucky, where basketball runs you're not power in the SEC. You're an SEC school. Neyland Stadium in Knoxville. Those fans are so crazy and fanatical about their team. Man, look, Neyland Stadium gets sold out all the time. You can go back and look. I mean, if you go and look at the numbers and say, oh, Jay, how bad have they been? Okay, cool. This year, 3-7, 8-5 previously, 5-7 previously, 2017, 4-8, 9-4, 9-4, 7-6, 5-7, 5-7, 5-7. It's embarrassing. A lot of these years, they're not even bowl eligible. Neyland Stadium is still getting sold out. That just talks about the desire that these fans have to have a winning fan base and a good, really good, great elite product on the field. Danny White gets hired as a new AD at the University of Tennessee from UCF, where he did do some good hires there at UCF, and he had some good hires in other stops along the way as well. This is what the Tennessee Chancellor Donde Powell had to say about Danny White and him being hired as a new AD at the University of Tennessee. Quote, Danny White is an innovative leader in college athletics with a strong track record in recruiting and developing leaders. He brings a combination of winning attitude, competitive drive, and dedication to integrity and academics that we are looking for, end quote. Doesn't that sound like a guy that might be a guy that you want leading your athletic department or leading a group or leading whatever group or situation you were in? Doesn't that sound like somebody you want in your corner? I never met Danny White. I've heard good things about him, not just from Chancellor Donde Powell, but also from other people along the way as well. Danny White surely seems like a guy that has his head on straight, that knows what he's doing, and could possibly do what's needed to make Tennessee a team that when Alabama goes to Neyland Stadium, they are a little hesitant or maybe shaking in their boots because Tennessee is doing what is needed to be successful on the football field. Danny White's track record of hiring coaches is not just one guy. It's not just two guys. It goes over a few places, a couple stops along the way, and there are numerous coaches that were hired by Danny White, had success at their current stop, and then got promoted to bigger and better jobs. Most recently at UCF, Scott Frost. Well, I remember the year of 2017, national champions because they were undefeated in that year. Scott Frost, 2015, got the job, ultimately got hired, pulled away a better job to go be the coach of the Nebraska Cornhuskers. Josh Heupel was Scott Frost's replacement there at UCF. In Josh Heupel's short tenure there at UCF as the football coach, he has gone 28-8. Also, Danny White was not only at UCF, but he was at Buffalo as well. He did hire Lance Leopold, a 6-time D3 champion. Bobby Hurley was the basketball coach there, got promoted to a better job. And then also Nate Oates was hired there at Buffalo under Danny White, hired by Danny White, and then also was promoted to a better job as well. Normally in collegiate sports, you don't think about starting from scratch and tearing things down, going from the bottom and then building things up that way, getting a firm, strong foundation, kind of like a house. If the foundation is not right, then everything else is going to be a mess. That strong foundation that is needed for a collegiate athletic team to be successful, that is what's needed at Tennessee. Recruiting violations, how are these cats' grades? Are they taking care of themselves? There are so many things that go inside a collegiate athletic program that maybe, just maybe, Danny White might say, hey, look, we know the history or lack thereof. We know how bad things have been since the 98 season. Phil Fulmer tenure, okay, was pretty good, honestly. Then after that, not so hot. I understand you want to relive the magic and what happened in the latter part of the 90s here for the volunteer football team and the fans here in Knoxville, Tennessee. Well, what we need to do is X, Y, and Z and lay out a blueprint, lay out what is needed for them to be successful, and just have everything fall right into place once the plan gets put into action. Normally we hear about a rebuild or total rebuild in the professional ranks. You start from scratch. You don't have to rebuild. You can't reload. You have to rebuild and start from the bottom. That might be what is needed right now at the University of Tennessee. And those players that get recruited there right now, hey, maybe they are what is needed, and they are going to be what is a culture change. Because if you want a 5-star recruit, 5-star recruits, they love a 5-star culture. And right now, Tennessee does not have that. You know what Dwayne Haskins didn't have recently, but he does have now? A home on a football team. Dwayne Haskins messed up, embarrassed himself in Washington. I didn't think he should have come out of Ohio State when he did, not just from maturity level, but because of the way he played on the football field. I thought another year there with Urban Meyer, another year there at that system, I thought it would have been great for Dwayne Haskins to stay in school. Ultimately, he did get drafted. He did come out. He had some things going on with the Washington football team, and ultimately, he got cut. Immaturity got the best of him. Not just the bad play. I think the bad play would have allowed him to stay on the football team. But his bad behavior, immaturity, doing things, no matter if it's during this type of season or these issues that are going on right now with this virus, but with what's going on the field and the immaturity there as well, Dwayne Haskins, you didn't do yourself any favors. Yeah, bad play is one thing. There are players that stay on teams all the time because of bad play. I mean, all the time. Look at your favorite team. I'm sure there's a guy on your favorite team that doesn't play well consistently, but he's still on the team. He may play a little bit, but bad play is something that you think about when you think of how he plays when he steps on the gridiron. But Haskins to Pittsburgh, an organization that doesn't like nonsense. An organization that is only on their third coach since 1970. So they like consistency. Big Ben, the only team he has played on, the Pittsburgh Steelers. Troy Polamalu, I believe also, the only team he played on, not playing anymore, but used to, the Pittsburgh Steelers. And Dwayne Haskins can learn a lot from his new surroundings. Dwayne Haskins can learn a lot from being cut. Want to talk about a reality check? Have you ever been fired from a job? Do you know somebody that has been fired from a job? Me, myself, and I have been fired from a job. There was a warning sign. There were things that happened and my behavior did change. Oh, my behavior wasn't wrong. Well, I didn't do anything wrong at this time. There were certain situations that are outside of my control as far as why your boy got fired, but it wasn't like, oh, your boy was lazy. Oh, Jay was messing things up. No, sir, Bob. It wasn't anything like that. But I had a feeling something was going to come, and I believe it was the Alabama and Clemson National Championship in January of 2017. It was in that year, in that realm. I came home that Monday night. I wasn't fired just yet, but that game was on, and I remember coming home wanting to watch that game, wanted to sit down and enjoy that game. Me and my dog Zeke, named after Ezekiel Elliott when he was playing at The Ohio State University. I wanted to sit down and watch the game, but because of what was going on in my mind, I could not do it. So, had the job still, kept going in ultimately. Even though things got better for me, my boss said, nope, you're a little too late. Bye, you're gone. Even though, once again, he wanted to try and get me to do extra. Do things that, I was meeting the quota, as he said, he put forth. But nope, he wanted to go things further and further and further. The things that I got fired for not doing, there were things that other people there weren't doing, but somebody else kept his job. Your boy was let go. And in that moment, you start to wonder, was it me? Knowing you weren't the wrong problem, Dwayne Haskins was a problem in the situation, you start to wonder, was it me? What could I have done better? Smack yourself in the face a little bit, not literally, but figuratively. So, hey, man, wake up. Snap out of it. You can't be down. You can't beat yourself up. You got to go get you another job. No, and I actively pursued another job around, ultimately got into sales and door-to-door sales. It wasn't as bad as what people said it was. But I got a new job, and I kept striving. I kept getting better, try to better myself. And there were things going on after that ultimately weren't a problem with me in my life, but I strive to be a better person because I got fired from a job. Getting cut in the NFL, just like getting fired, but ultimately, just like having a different type of job outside of sports, you can go out and get another job and be very successful at it. Dwayne Haskins being cut from the Washington football team, that may have been the reality check and the smack in the face, figuratively, that he needed to get out of whatever funk he was in to be a better pro and a better football player and a better man as well. I've said this numerous times on a few different podcasts. There are numerous people out there that are playing professional sports, but they are not professionals themselves. Yeah, think about it. A professional athlete may be professional in name only. Every now and then a player needs a reality check, and maybe being cut by the Washington football team may have been the reality check Dwayne Haskins needed. I am glad he is there with Mike Tomlin in Pittsburgh to kind of right the wrong that has been written. Thank you so much for listening to and enjoying another episode of the Jay Stevens Podcast. As always, you can follow me on Twitter at jstevens07. You can also send all of your emails to jstevenspod@gmail.com. Remember to always subscribe, rate, and review. It's a great way for people that are searching for a new podcast to listen to come across this one. Then remember to always get the word out about the podcast via word of mouth. The things that we enjoy in life, we are more willing and somewhat wired to tell other people about. So no matter if this was your first episode or if you have been listening to episode number 1, be sure to let people know about the podcast. This has been episode 169 of the Jay Stevens Podcast. I will see you next time.